Hello, and welcome to my channel, the Science of Astrology. Here, we explore mysticism with an open mind, deep curiosity, and analytical reasoning. There's a common misconception that astrology lacks any scientific foundation. But if we look closer and allow more than just logic to guide our understanding, we begin to notice patterns. Patterns that may not be measured by traditional empirical data, but can be measured through human insight, intuition, and yes, math. For this introduction video, I'll explain why and how I began studying astrology. Then, I'll share some details from my own birth chart so we can use it as a reference point for navigating the rest of this series. Finally, I'll briefly outline what we'll be learning together throughout this journey. Ever since I was a child, I was fascinated by the stars. I would sit out at night, look up, and just wonder. Not a clue why I wondered, but just a deep wonder of what was out there. Why so far? And why so enamoring? I went to college at Valdosta State University to study astronomy and physics so that I can become an astronaut and go up there myself, even if I was to just reach the edge of space to simply touch the moon, a desire I could name but not explain. I was in school for about 2.5 years, and then COVID came along and changed everything, a wild event that I'm sure everyone is familiar with. But I wasn't just battling the absurdity of COVID-19 shutting down the entire world. My own personal life was falling apart, buried trauma resurfacing with a vengeance, my place in the world being put under a critical spyglass and altered. It was a battle of internal and external pressure. I had spent my life preparing myself to study and learn to reach the stars, but I realized that I didn't want to study my way up there. I knew the math, I knew the science, but I was not fulfilled, not emotionally or creatively. So when COVID came along to shut down America, shut down my school, and shut me down, I was left with my own haunting thoughts and the education I acquired over the years. Stubborn and refusing to let the life I lived amount to nothing, I had to do something. Then, I met this girl on a dating app that was really into the spiritual things. A brief connection that reignited my pursuit to understand the celestial. One time when we were hanging out, she brought up astrology. I knew nothing about it, so she introduced me to her birth chart, and I was honestly astonished by what I seen. What she showed me. I had heard a few things about astrology. Mentions of a retrograde, your zodiac sign being based on the day of the month you were born. As she showed me, she pointed out the planetary bodies and the lines connecting them. The placements of her aspects and astrological bodies formed a literal star. There was no questioning the shape, and to make things even more intriguing, she was a Leo. She was so expressive of how her sun sign being a Leo means that she's a star, the center of attention, the main character, and that the lines or aspects that formed this star validated her findings. Her behavior and enthusiasm on the subject were the fundamental characteristics of a Leo. Even as a skeptic, I was indeed impressed and wanted to find my own star. The birth chart is based on how the Earth moves through space and our perspective of the sky at the moment of our birth. From our perspective on Earth, the sky forms a 360-degree dome around us. No matter where you are on Earth, you're standing at the center of your own personal sky. So when you look up, you're seeing a full celestial sphere, divided into degrees. It's a complete circle, and if you chart it, it becomes a flat loop of space, time, and energies, your birth chart. Two people born on the same day can have similar birth charts, but they will differ based on what time and what place they were born. Approximately every 2 hours, the horizon will shift from one zodiac sign to the next, taking 24 hours for the horizon to interact with each sign. And so, if you were born at a different place of the world, the sky would look differently than the other. This shifting horizon is what determines your ascendant, or rising sign. The ascendant deals with your physical presence. Imagine your birth chart as a screenshot, a captured moment of space and time to a physical manifestation of your mean, the closest thing to the literal vibe you carry into the world. This explains how people born on the same day can have the same sun sign, but different rising and moon signs, which will play out in the manifestation of their lives entirely differently. Knowing the time and location allows us to be more precise with our calculations, allowing us to dive deeper into our findings and understanding. There are 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. These correspond with the 4 elements of astrology: fire, earth, air, and water. Assigning which element to which season is up to the individual for interpretations can vary. Then there are 3 ways that these elements, or seasons, can be expressed. In astrology, this is called its modality. The 3 modalities are cardinal, initiator, fixed, sustainer, and mutable, changer. Some astrologers, including me, would note that cardinal energy contains the properties of both fixed and mutable. When you apply these 3 expressions to the 4 seasons, you get 12 different personalities or expressions, and this is what astrology calls zodiac signs. You take the 360 degrees, radius of a circle, divide it by 12, the number of zodiac signs, and you will get 30 degrees, each sign measuring at 30 degrees in celestial longitude. Why a circle? Because you are born complete. You are born whole. Your shadow and your light, your strengths and your weakness, your traumas and your fortunes. Before modern tools, humans used their hands to measure and calculate these patterns in the sky with their intuition and pattern recognition. If using the 4 elements seem too elementary for you, try looking at it through the frame of states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. So, here's my birth chart. As you can see, or maybe you can't, there are no lines forming a star or any other recognizable, intelligible shape. You'd need a very vivid imagination to craft any kind of symbol from these aspects, and that's okay. I've accepted that as part of the point. However, keep in mind that some aspects and lines aren't shown here because they may be considered less impactful than the ones highlighted. To give you a basic understanding of who I am on an astrological level, I'm a Virgo sun, Virgo moon, with a Scorpio rising. That's my big 3. From my study of astrology, I've learned that the sun sign encompasses all the planets, signs, houses, and aspects, blending them into one overarching personality or essence. My sun in Virgo at 26 degrees is a result of all my planetary placements and interactions. You can think of the sun sign as a summary of a person's being, though it doesn't tell the full story. The moon sign represents how you process and respond to emotions. For someone like me, with a moon in Virgo, There's a constant drive to put language and understanding behind feelings, to analyze where they come from, why they arise, and what they mean. Like everything, this has its benefits and drawbacks. One benefit is a high level of emotional intelligence, a drawback being paralyzed with studying those feelings and thoughts. Then there's my rising sign, which is in Scorpio. If you look closely at the left side of my chart, you'll see that Scorpio spans both my 12th and 1st houses. This is why knowing your exact birth time and location matters. It makes the reading more precise. Accuracy here is important because, although my 1st house begins with Scorpio, my ascendant, there are still about 20 degrees of Sagittarius energy within my 1st house. So there's a blend of energies shaping how I present myself to the world. The 1st house represents your physical presence and how you're perceived. If you don't know someone's rising sign, you can often guess it by looking into their eyes, the windows to the soul. Scorpio risings are known for their piercing gaze, and I definitely carry that intensity. But as you continue to follow my chart, the rest of my 1st house flows into Sagittarius. This Sagittarian energy mixes with my Scorpio energy, creating a unique dynamic on how I approach life, with enthusiasm, curiosity, and a constant pursuit of higher wisdom and learning. So here's my birth chart from a top-down view from space. Go ahead and pause to see if you can identify and match any of the planets. As you can see in the birth chart, Earth is at the center while the Sun appears in the top left quadrant. This corresponds to the top-down view of our solar system, where the Sun is positioned to the top left of Earth, which itself is situated next to the Moon. You may also notice that several other celestial bodies are clustered toward the top left from Earth's perspective, which aligns with their placement in my 10th house in Virgo. Mars, for example, is closer to the top center, matching its position in my 9th house in Leo. When you apply this same logic to the rest of the planetary patterns, you'll see the alignment holds true, even for Pluto. The degrees of a birth chart matter because they determine how that energy is expressed. Think of the early degrees as carrying a childlike, eager, or willful essence of that sign, house, or planet. In the middle degrees, the energy takes on a more fluent, balanced, and calm expression. By the later degrees, the energy can be interpreted as masterful, experienced, and well integrated. For those who want to take a closer look at my birth chart, here it is. Throughout this series, we'll be using my own planets, placements, and signs as a reference point. Notice that all of my gas giants have an R beside them. This indicates they were in retrograde at the time of my birth. When a planet is retrograde in a natal chart, it expresses its energy a bit differently than when it's in direct motion. The differences are subtle, but they do add another layer to how those planetary influences play out in a person's life. For now, though, we'll keep things simple and focus on the big three: your sun, moon, and rising sign, in which none can retrograde. As a man of science and reason, I had to get to the bottom of it. After all, the logic of my own life was breaking down. The logistics of society was breaking down. Nothing made sense anymore. So why not deepen the madness? As I plugged my birth chart information in, I didn't find a star, but I found a typical chart of lines and strings going every direction. I was indeed disappointed because I felt like the star myself, but I was already intrigued, so I had to find out more. I had to understand what this was saying, and if what everyone was saying is true, that I could understand myself better, and if so, I had to. I needed to. So I plunged myself into the madness, and after years of studying, I discovered something profound. Astronomy explains how the universe works. Astrology explains why the universe works. They are two sides of the same coin, one for the tangible, the other for the intangible.